So I represent SelfDrvn, and this is a platform that essentially, so let me just take you through what we're going to be covering in the short time that you're with us today. I'll give you a short introduction to who SelfDrvn is and what we do. But to give more value to participants, I know that with SSG, your main interest is in upskilling. So understanding from my perspective, our perspective, dealing with a variety of different verticals of industries, what skills should we be upskilling ourselves with, right, out of the plethora of different options out there. What about soft skills, the role of soft skills in a digital world? Are they still necessary or not? Then I'm going to touch very briefly on leadership best practices for remote workforce management, whether or not you have a platform or not. But we're really, really privileged to be joined today by one of our clients who's actually used our platform to great effect and have, in fact, won themselves industry recognition in the form of a HR Excellence Gold Award for HR Innovation. So I will let them speak on our behalf, Principal Asset Management, in terms of how they've used the platform very engagingly to manage a remote workforce. So very briefly, who are we? SelfDrvn. This is a very busy slide. I will only call your attention to the few key things. We are one of 10 global vendors that have been recognized by the global research analyst Gartner as players in the employee experience tech field. But we're the only one that's actually based in Asia out of all the 10 global players. So that's something that we are very proud of. Enterprise Singapore and Plug and Play have selected us in the past to be in their accelerator programs. We are proven, so we're not just beta mode. We actually have live clients with a user base of about 12,000 users. And of those users, you see some very familiar names here. We've won regional business with 86% customer retention rate, helping to deliver higher productivity and learning outcomes with remote workforces. So hopefully we have something of interest to share with you so you can supercharge, the businesses that you respectively run. So in essence, what we do here at SelfDrvn is to connect talent supply, be they anywhere from interns to external gig workers, to talent demand via a cloud solution. And so on our cloud solution, which is hosted by Microsoft, we have talent management, workforce management, assessment and upskilling, which is where we're going to be focusing our efforts on today. And what exactly do we do on that cloud? Essentially, what we do is motivate and nudge employees to action. I can imagine that all of you would be able to very clearly imagine how important that is when we are leading without seeing nowadays. Even though the vaccinations are, slowly being rolled out across the world, it will be very unlikely that we will go back to the previous norm of everybody being in the office 100%. And so we believe that remote workforce management will continue to be an imperative part of any business's business strategy. And our platform is really here to do that, to motivate and nudge employees to action, even when they are not physically on site with you in the office. And how do we do that? So one of the things that we have is we gamify basically work. And so we have something that we call quests. They're essentially challenges that are delivered through our platform, be it on the desktop or through mobile phone interfaces. So these quests can be aligned with your key performance indicators in terms of business outcomes, but also with core values. And later when I pass you to KC, our client, he will show you really, really interesting examples of how the platform will use to drive behaviors as intangible as core values. So you can see, I hope you can see it. This is a mobile screen where a learning quest to learn a digital skill of Android development has been broken down into various levels. So you start with a small video, then you'd read an article, then you do an assignment, and then you submit homework or proof that you have applied the theory in your work via the app, and you get feedback on it by the moderator that is chosen within your organization. And so what happens after that is our platform allows managers to give reward points as well as recognition badges to folks who do what they need to do. So once you have set the right expectations in terms of goals that you want them to be focusing on, you give them points to reward them for doing what you need them to do. And you give them a recognition badges. And again, when I pass to KC, you will see a more engaging, much more engaging examples of how exactly he has done it to great success within his organization, Principal Asset Management. And what employees then do with these points? Essentially, like the credit card loyalty redemption programs, employees can redeem those points for real lifestyle rewards, be they Grab vouchers, Starbucks vouchers, holidays, etc. So we already have an integrated platform with merchants that supply these lifestyle rewards, and it's a very easy method for employees to redeem what they want, putting on a wish list the kind of rewards that motivate them the most. And although we have this ready-built set of merchants with lifestyle rewards that are very attractive already on there, companies can choose to be very flexible. If they don't want to necessarily allocate too much cash outlay towards buying Starbucks vouchers that will then be redeemed by their staff, for example, they can put things that are non-cash but still of attractive value to employees. This could be a lunch meetup, mentoring meetup with the CEO, or a LinkedIn recommendation by the head of HR. VIP parking space, or extra days off. The sky is your limit in terms of the creativity with which you can put rewards on these platforms. So what we say we want is we want to acquire all this knowledge, but what we really, really need, honestly, for our businesses is when you're thinking about where do I start in the overwhelm of courses that are available, where do I start? Where do I get my people to start? Think first about the pain points within your organization. Where are the costs exceeding your pain threshold? Where are there opportunities to improve and smoothen and enhance the customer experience? Because when you enhance the customer experience, you get more customer mind share, your potential to increase revenue, which is the main objective, will be enhanced as well. Or where are the opportunities within your business to reduce and mitigate risk? So start with those pain points first, and then only think about what will be needed by your people in order to push those agendas of reducing costs, whether it's looking at what automation technology is available out there, or about UX design so that you can improve the user interface of how you deal with customers. Or looking at processes that operationally are costing you a lot in terms of the risk that they provide. What can you do to mitigate some of those risks? So these are the primary areas which you need to focus on and understand what technologies can help support you in those areas before then you decide to upskill your people in those respective technologies, right? And so the next slide I want to share with you is really around, sorry, again, that was too fast. The 10 basic principles of any workplace transformation. And this is a very informative infographic that was created again by clients PwC in cooperation with Strategy publication. So in any kind of workplace transformation, including any digital upskilling, there are 10 basic steps that any company or any team need to go through. And that's firstly, as I mentioned, focusing on a few concrete business outcomes. In our observation, a lot of times companies make the drastic mistake of investing in a very expensive technology first and foremost, because they think that's what they should be doing, again, to keep up with the company Joneses, right? Like, well, everybody else is on this, everybody's doing our robotic process automation, I guess I should be doing it too if I'm going to be a responsible business owner. But they haven't yet zoomed into the core business outcome that they want to affect. And that really has to be the first stage. Only once you understand what you're going to be measuring success on in terms of what business outcomes are going to change as a result of this transformation, will you be able to then measure how you're going, right? So once you've focused on the very urgent and important business outcomes, then you have to start the change management process of fostering emotional commitment, making it easy for your folks to come on board your journey, designing a compelling experience of them, obviously starting with the highest impact roles, and then, changing behaviors and so on and so forth in terms of this whole overall process. So if you look at it intuitively, it makes sense. This is sort of change management theory 101. But on a practical basis, how do you do it, and how do you do it at scale? I want you to stay tuned to exactly how Principal Asset Management did it in a very, very engaging and very data-driven way. Now we're talking about soft skills, right? So now that you kind of have an idea what kind of digital technical skills you and your people might need to invest some time on, what about soft skills? Are they still relevant? So firstly, let's go back to basics. By upskilling, we mean giving our employees opportunities to gain not just the knowledge, but also the tools, also the buy-in and the ability they need to use technology. So a lot of people think that digital transformation is about investing again in technology. It's not about that. That's only part of the equation. If you don't have digital talent who have the buy-in and the skill set and the know-how and the motivation to use whatever technology you've invested in, then it's a big white elephant. It's just going down the drain, right? So upskilling is an all-encompassing initiative to do that. So we know we're worried about the robots taking over the world. We're worried about them stealing all our jobs. But really, the robots will only take care of that which is technical, repetitive, and manual, because that's how you program robots. You can only program when you know what to expect, right? But humans are still very much needed on the whole creativity and problem-solving aspect of work. And as the world becomes more complex, this becomes even more necessary. And of course, we've got machine learning. So, machines are supposed to learn as they go with new data. But there is still the key message here is there is still very much a place for us as humans alongside the robots. And what we bring to the table is effectively soft skills. So we need skills that complement any robots that we invest in. So, building trust in data. How do you convince stakeholders who hold pocketbooks or sign checks that the data, there is integrity? How do you manage relationships? How do you influence and inspire people to move along with the times and do what is necessary? How do you encourage them to have resilience in the face of hardship? All these are very much leadership soft skills that are very much needed in the workforce today. So the key message here is not everybody needs to learn how to code. Don't be overwhelmed that, my gosh, if I'm not a Python language expert, then I'm done for and I'm no longer useful. So not everybody has to learn to code, but everybody needs to understand and manage, how they might introduce artificial intelligence, data analytics, and other technologies that we can't yet predict. So even though you don't have to code per se, you have to be able to be aware of the landscape and think about how that connects to your business. Also, people throughout every enterprise need stronger leadership skills, right? You need, as I mentioned, to be able to still inspire and empower others to move along with the times. So this is my last slide, really, before I hand over to KC, our client. And it's really around sharing what we found to be the best practice principles of workforce management. This is our last slide. And they're three key and very simple principles. The first principle is really around creating engaging two-way communications, especially, as I said, when we are leading without seeing and there's so much uncertainty. You have to have communications coming from the top that are not just directive and keeping people focused on KPIs, but also showing empathy and connection and care. And the two-way part comes from, it can't just be top down. You've got to find avenues to be able to source and extract the sentiment of the people on the ground so that it floats up and senior management, middle management can understand what their diverse, spread out is thinking and doing, and how they can proactively be of support to them, even when they can't see them on site every day. And the second key principle of remote workforce management is really around focusing on the results that you want to be achieved and measuring such results. Because again, we're all spread out. We don't know. While some companies choose to invest in CCTV like surveillance cameras, and there was one LinkedIn post I saw about a company that has asked its employees to have their video cameras on from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. without a break. So that's the mandate from the company. I don't know what their attrition rates are going to be like, because, you know, you and I know how uncomfortable are we to even have the video on throughout one conference call, let alone throughout the entire workday, just so the company and managers can feel comfortable that work is being done and productivity is maintained. That's not how we operate at scale. So it's really about focusing and measuring the results you want. And lastly, it's really about recognizing and rewarding desired behaviors that you want. So these are three very simple principles, but I'm not going to bore you with the theory. I'm going to hand you over to our live client who've been using this platform for over a year and have some really interesting and engaging examples of how exactly these three principles have been applied to great success within Principal Asset Management. So over to you, Kelly or Casey.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Michelle and Carrie, for having me to share. Now, I'm going to focus on three things and three things only. I think these are the areas that companies are very relevant to all the companies. Culture building, digital upskilling, and leading without seeing. Right, that's the sort of a theme for today. Right, how do we go around engaging our employees who are not in the office most of the time, right? Now let me start with culture building, right? Why we need the cultural change, right? If you really know asset management, we have been in a JV situation with Principal Financial Group US since the past 10-15 years, right? But just in 2018, we literally changed from the red logo to the blue logo, right? Because the Principal Financial Group takes over the major share, and that's why everything changes, right? How we deal, basically the HR is being set up just to manage this, transition, right? Now, so when you have that happen in your company or in the company that you work with, now basically we want to focus on, the physical change is easy, right? You think about it, right? You just change the logo of your shirt, you just change the logo of your building, right? But the core to it is actually the change of mindset, right? People need to start thinking, what Principal brand is about, right? Previously I'm very close to CIMB. I know how it works in CIMB, but what does Principal stand for, right? What are those business that we deal with, and things that we do that we don't do, right? And of course, at the core of it is how should employee go about, making the decision, conduct themselves in everyday working life. That is in the line of our core value right now. That is actually a big challenge, simply because it takes a long time, right, to kind of switch this mindset, right? We are a human of habit of, human of a lot of habits that we need time to change, right? So okay, trust me, we have done all the initial thing that you would think that. Basically, I went to Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore as well, and of course in Malaysia to talk about, Principal, right? Talk about our core value, talk about our HQ in USA, and yeah, typically you spend maybe town halls talking about it a bit further, right? Now, what happened here is this, right? You have done your sessions, and people stay in the sessions for maybe half hour, 1 hour. Now, by the time we leave the sessions, which is, we forgot half of the things that's being said in the sessions, and we spend, I don't know, 90% of our time working without, ever hear about the core values anymore, right? So the question for us is always, or for me is always, what do we need to do, right, to keep people engaged in this whole transition, right? This core value. How do we keep reminding them to think about it and to bring that up in their everyday work, right? So for me, really, the change begins with an app, right? To put it quite bluntly, right? Because after they leave the classroom, that's where the real challenge begins, right? People tend to go back to their normal life, and nobody talks about the value anymore, right? Now with the SelfDrvn app, basically, I can share information about Principal real time, right? That means every day I can design certain content and I push out to our employee, right? I better put out a slide out because the transition is really slow. Right, now the second thing is, why would people do something that you want them to do, right? It's all about driven. It's all about creating a a kind of a competition among them as well, right? So in this sense, the app provide the leadership board, for example, right? So those people who have take action or who have, like or share or comment or contribute to the overall process, the self-driven app, they will have the points, right? So that will keep them coming back to do more, right? And because that is also kind of a competition and fun with your colleague as well, right? Now, eventually, finally, whatever you do is getting rewarded, right? I think Michelle has mentioned that you can have this, Grab voucher, for example, is very popular for Malaysian. So whatever you do actually translate into, one cup of Starbucks coffees or one meal from Grab, right? So it is not much, but the point is not about giving them a huge reward, but actually to nudge them to do certain thing, to engage with them, so that we make the work life also a bit more fun, right? Instead of just work and there's nothing else, right? Now, I want to talk a bit more about the rewards. Like Michelle said, well, those reward is already customized for you, right? For each different country, you can have a localized kind of e-voucher, right? Now, the fun part is actually the non-monetary reward, right? This is where the creativity lies, right? For example, for us in Malaysia and Singapore, we give them, a day pass, right? Apparently, day pass, you need more points, of course, because you really can take a day off, right? With this pass, right? Now, if you want to have a chat with the C-level or with the CEO, it just requires maybe 10,000 points, right? But for the day pass, you need 80,000 points, right? Now, there are a few, once you do that, right, you can see that some employees really want to have the day pass, for example. So he or she has been claiming day pass over the past year. So we know certain behavior, right? And that also tells us another thing, right? You need to sort of have variety of reward that actually suits to different employees' need, right? So this is where the customization comes from, right? And it's really up to your creativity as a kind of a HR or as someone who's driving driven this self-driven app in the company. Okay? Now I want to show a bit how we actually do it. Now I talked about core values, right? Now after we share the core values in the classroom for 2 months, 3 months, we start telling people, look, we need you to, show us how you apply this core value and tell us who have done it the right way, so that we allow employee to actually recognize each other if they are showing a right core value. For example, if you show our core value is do what is right? So we want to conduct business in accordance to this highest integrity and ethical standards. So if you notice your colleagues is doing that, you can actually give them points and recognize them through the platform, right? Now, over the last year, we have about 1,006, 1,007 recognitions. And these are actually for us a bit surprised, right? Because for Asian, I used to think that we're a bit shy. And maybe this app actually opens a channel for them to, to share. You don't need to tell that person face to face. You can recognize them in a kind of a, a quiet way, but it's being seen, right? And they can use the points and they know who is recognizing them, right? So and we are really happy with this result, right? It's on average about 4 to 5 recognition for each employee, right? Now, ask yourself how long or how many times your manager recognize you in a good year, right? So maybe 1 or 2 times, but with this app, you can do that, 4 or 5 times, for one employee, right? Now, I also want to touch a bit on, how do we use the data, right? Now, when we look at the data, in particular for these badges, right, we realize that, the leaders are not doing enough, right? So we actually share a message with the leader, say, hey, maybe you should be doing more of that recognition, because the peer-to-peer recognition seems to be very lively, right? So, but we need you as a leader, right, people manager, to do more, right? And by the way, this particular message is sent to the principal leaders group within the apps, because in the app, you can create multiple groups. You can just certain people is allowed to join a group, or everybody can join a group. So for this, obviously, we want to engage with the people leaders. So only the people leaders are in this group, so that when we nudge whatever messages, only the leaders will see it, right? So this is one of the way you can use the data, to feedback to, the action you need to take to improve the situation, right? Now, next is the digital upskilling. Now, Let me start by saying that I'm sure every one of you are very familiar. Your company has been investing in different kind of learning institution programs out there, right? Now, we are not that different, right? SIDC is our regulator in Malaysia, and we have ASEAN Banking School as well, and we do partner with Harvard University to roll out some e-learnings and Udemy as well, right? Now, all this is good, right? But the challenge for most of us in HR, in the management position is nobody is actually utilizing the content, right? Content is great, but nobody is going in and the utilization is very low, right? Now that's pretty much a wasted investment kind of scenario, right? Now, so if you turn around and ask yourself, okay, what else can you do more? Is going back to the motivation, right? Going back to the real time, going back to nudging them, right? So for example, with the apps, what I'm trying to do is to make it easy for employee, right? So if I flash this change management learning, right? So at that point of time, is someone actually thinking about doing something about it? That will be a reason why they will click and go straight to the content, right? So you see, SelfDrvn does not host those content, but SelfDrvn act like an intermediary, right? So it sort of nudges people to take action, right? So with just one click, it's just maybe you're just having a coffee in the morning, you look at this, and then you want to take action. Then you jump straight into it, right? This is how we manage it, right? Now, when we talk about digital upskilling, obviously the instruments are, we also use LinkedIn Learning in this. You can see here, we need to track who is completing the digital learning so that we can reward them, right? Remember the reward feature is always there, right? Last year, we have about 1,000 completion when it comes to digital upskilling. Of course, the overall learning is a few thousand worth of learning completed, right? But I think of those few thousand, I think about 1,000 is digital upskilling, right? So these are data, right, that we HR really want to have, so that we can tell a story of, we are actually moving the needle, right? So no longer telling you very, one of the trainer like to say, fuzzy stuff, right? Very fuzzy, right? Employees are learning more, right? But who and what and how many, right? So those data that is really essential for HR to be, to be future ready as well, right? As we are moving towards this direction, right? Now, again, when it comes to taking action based on the data that we have, we have this situation where, again, the leader or the employees in general, they do not, we want them to understand the principal strategy, right? How principal look at the strategy overall, right? And because we are very new to principal as well. So we want to nudge people to go into our content pages and sort of consume this strategy in 7, what we call it strategy in 7. Right? Now it is imagine we want to really rush them in doing it, right? So we don't tell them a short deadline, but we sort of challenge them, right? So we level up your challenges, right? So in that sense, you're actually turning the table, right? Instead of pushing them to do in a very short deadline, you actually challenge their kind of ability to do more, to level up. So you put a gamified kind of element into it, right? So this is a whole new way of actually encouraging employees to do more, right? So you're not really pushing, but actually challenging them, right? So we as a being, we will to be challenged, right? So in that sense, I think the data give us a very, very good insight to do this action. Now, finally, I want to share about the biggest topic of all, right? So whatever I've just mentioned is about, engaging people without seeing them, right? I'm not seeing them, right? And one of the way, there are a few examples I'm going to give here, right? Let me just flash it out. Right? So one of the things that we do, again, these are however you do it is based on your creativity, and also, of course, SelfDrvn team, the consultant will sort of work with you to achieve that, right? In this case, we run an employee spotlight campaign, right? So we are telling, sorry for that. So there are a lot of colleagues that we don't know them, apart from, okay, maybe Katina Kat is the PA, right? And our friend here from Singapore is actually an investor, so on and so forth, right? Now, when you give a bit of kind of more information, make the person have a personality, that's how you get to know your colleague better and you engage the colleagues overall, right? Now, the other campaign that we run is Principal Meme. I think this is really, really interesting last year because remember last year we all locked down, we are very depressed and all that. So we figured, hey, why don't we turn this around? It's locked down. I mean, we still can enjoy our time in lockdown, right? So we run this meme competition, right? So basically, we want the creativity juice coming up from the employees and tell us, okay, how you want to approach this meme, right? So someone said, my wife asked me why I'm always on this app, during MCO is our lockdown basically, right? And working from home, right? So because I'm on this app because I can earn some Lazada point, right? I can use point to buy things, right? And someone shared about this Skype meeting before and after video, which is absolutely what happened to us as well, right? Now, finally, at one point, this Avengers meme is very, very kind of hot. And this is about a haircut, right? So everybody can relate to that. And it makes the entire kind of atmosphere very, very lively and interesting. Everybody laugh about it, right? Now, one of the final things I'll share is a crowdsourcing idea. Now, the apps allow you to sort of ask employee open-ended questions and they can start answering the questions, right? For example, this is about, because we're new to Principal, so what would you advise to your colleagues, who are just joined, right? What do you think they wish they know when they join, right? So you get multiple different answers, right? And again, you can vote for this message, whether you agree or disagree. Then you know where does the majority kind of voices is. And obviously, you're looking at a beach, right? Actually, you can hear the background of the sea wave and the breeze at the background. So this is really, really great. It's a small touch, but it really changes the whole experience, right? Now, interestingly here, you can see our employees on the bottom right there. You say, oh, lunch break is 2 hours, right? Now for HR and management say, hey, wait a minute. This should not be the norm. So of course, we don't sort of say, hey, we want to investigate and all that. We're just telling the leader, look, seems like some of you are taking a 2-hour lunch break. Maybe you want to sort of, manage that a bit better so that we don't end up with a lot of longer lunch break, right? So again, it is a data that you can collect and it's anonymous and it's useful, right? So always think about actionable data, right? So data by itself is just data. It's useless if you don't find something that is insightful that you can take action about, right? So the platform, the SelfDrvn platform will give you that, right? Now, finally, the slide is about busy engagement, right? So even when I'm sleeping, the app is doing the engagement, may I say that, right? Because people are completing their posts and quests, and people are giving likes to the post by the other colleagues. They are completing polls and doing, look at the 47,000 steps, right? This is actually one of the app feature as well. It will link to your smartwatch, and as you put in the steps, we are rewarding you for taking a healthy lifestyle, right? So that, again, you give you points, you can claim reward other things, right? And it's continuous, right? So it doesn't end there. Back to the first slide that I show you, right? How do you engage with the employee after they leave your sessions, after they finish a conversation, they talk to you for 5 minutes, right? How do you engage them in the 90% of the time, right? Where they are not actually talking to you or sit in your classroom, right? So this is one of the way, right? So let me be the first one to tell you that, oh, by the way, we won a gold in excellence in HR innovation using SelfDrvn and a few others innovation that we did. And obviously, of course, the Excellence Award is, I think, is based in Singapore, the Human Resources organization. Now, let me be the first to tell you that the app is just an additional tool, right? If you ask me, the best engagement still come from your direct leader, right? And it is not a secret anymore. You leave a company or engage with a company because of your direct leaders, right? He or she is the one who engage you. But let's also look at what other tools we can give to the leaders to engage the employee apart from their own kind of initiative, right? Now, finally, the engagement is going on. For example, one more example is if you are in Malaysia, you should know that Principal Asset Management is rolling out e-cash. Basically, you can buy a unit trust through your touch and go app, right? So this is the new product in the market. So I'm already talking to the business on how do we use employee advocacy, right, to help business achieve the objective, right? So whether we ask employee to like the pages, to share the product, so all this can be customized into a self-driven quest where we challenge employee to complete it and we reward them accordingly, right? So this will be the thing that's in progress, and I've worked with the SelfDrvn team to roll this out already by this week, and it's going to be a continuous journey, right? So we jump on it, right? So the agility is there. I can jump on the project as and when I see fit. Apart from having the master plan, about engagement, about timely, posts and whatnot, right? So I think I'm on the top of the hour now. Maybe I should pass this back to Kelly and answer some of the questions that you have.
Thanks, Casey. Thank you very, very much. And Michelle as well. I think you can come back on. I think there's some questions from the participants. That's a very insightful sharing as well. Now, just dive straight into a very interesting question from a participant, right? So in terms of nominating someone for recognition of doing good work in the app, how many, in your opinion, how many HR executives in companies are really willing to transit this data as relevant inputs into their own company's formal recognition and awards programs?
So I said I would, I took a cop out and I said I'd leave that question to, I answered the rest, which were related to the platform, but as a practicing HR person with a much larger team, Casey, what are your thoughts? Did you have any hesitancy about using the data within existing programs?
The data basically is not shared with other leaders. Obviously, when we take the data, we use it internally for HR. And as I think the challenge is you don't want to use the data in the sense that employee felt unsafe, right? So the anonymous is there, right? So we can kind of maintain that. But the most effective way is to let them recognize each other, right? So that is their own action. It's no longer a secret. So you can actually do that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Continuing from that question, while linking rewards to work and training is a great motivation, do you think that this will propagate a culture of workers not performing or trained unless rewards are given?
So if you read the latest research around human motivation from Daniel Pink, for example, one of the key motivators is a sense of mastery, right? So when you feel like you are getting better at something, you intuitively want to keep doing it. That's why they say, intuitively, if you're wanting to master running a marathon, you never say sign up for 42 kilometers right off the bat. You sign up for 1 kilometer. You practice one. As and when you start seeing that actually I can do this, I can, I didn't die doing 1 kilometer. I didn't die doing 5 kilometers. But that's what keeps people signing up for more advanced runs, because they develop a sense of mastery. So on the one hand, I can sense the hesitation some businesses would feel. They would think, if I constantly have to do a carrot and approach to ensuring that my people do what they need them to do, then maybe I don't have enough budget to keep them doing that. But it's really about, like, even when you're teaching your kids, what they say is the best practice principles. When you're wanting your kid to learn a new skill, you first have to make it pleasurable for them. So don't expect them to learn piano if you've never exposed them to fun music. They must first appreciate how good music sounds like, and you start them off. And then as they get into the practice of it and they start realizing they can do the scales and then they master one little song, you can take away the carrot, because the mastery of it starts to take over. So that's one perspective. Casey, I'm not sure if you have any
really good analogy.
I mean the reward culture actually, if you think about it, the reward culture has to be there as well, right? You want to pay for performance, right? That is, I think that much we are very clear, right? So now when it comes to, will you spend a lot of money in doing that? The answer is no, actually. I think in our experience, actually, we have, of course, we designed the whole process. There's a maximum amount of money you can claim from SelfDrvn app, right? Now, imagine if you really engage with the app for an entire year, you can take a day off, for example, right? So that actually factor into the fact that not all employees wants to get, you know, or to be engaged in this way, right? So you're giving a variety of ways to engage with the employee, and it doesn't cost you a lot. I think these are the things that data will be useful. You need to find out different ways to engage with people, but we shouldn't and we can't run away from pay for performance kind of culture as well, right? So that part, the app helps us to recognize the employee in a small way, right? It's a pat on the shoulder, right? Basically, you see, I give you a badge and I give you some points, maybe worth $1 each pat. So it is not that much, but it actually means a lot, you know, not just the 1,000 point, but the fact that I'm getting recognition from my colleagues and from my leaders that I'm doing a great job, right? So that goes a long way, right? In helping us driving this you know performance culture in employee. By the way, the app also facilitate performance quests, right? So you can have a weekly goal quest. So you get your colleague to sort of partner with you. So hey, I'm having this quest. You need to verify that I've completed this task in a week or in a month, so that the SelfDrvn can give you the points, right? So it's not just fun. I mean, we are human beings, isn't it? We want to have fun. We want to feel, like Michelle said, we master it. That's the motivation. And we want to feel useful. We want to feel contributing, right? So I think the app, depending on how you design, I'm sure audience out there, they can do a better job than me. They have other ideas start coming out, right? So these are the things, the creativity that we should bring to our employees, right? So imagine how much we spend on bringing these creativities and solution to our clients and you know, our customer, right? So our internal customers should have that kind of level of service as well, if you ask me. Yeah.
And if it's any, I don't know if KC is wanting to share how much the budget he spends for rewards, but certainly when we did some math with another customer, they worked out that they spend less than 50 cents per employee to achieve some really tangible results. Because of course not everybody redeems everything, but overall, yeah, what kind of investment is that? 50 cents per employee for the entire year. That's not the cost of the platform, but just in terms of the reward budget that they had set, and they saw some tangible outcomes in terms of driven behaviors.
Yep. Don't forget there is a non-monetary reward, which is basically kind of FOC, right? So you take a day off, we just let your manager agree with that, and it takes like 80,000, 100,000 points off the table, right? So these are also one of the factors. Yeah.
You know, thank you both, Michelle and Casey. You know,